Good evening. Calling the Recreation Joint Advisory Committee to order. Happy Monday, everyone. There are no visitors in the room, so we'll just move right on to the agenda. The first order of business is approval of last month's minutes. They were sent out to the group in advance, so ideally everyone has reviewed them. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
May I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you both. All in favor of approving the minutes? Any noes? All right, they're approved as written. Thank you all very much. We'll move right into the amenity reports. Robert, you want to kick us off with Metfield?
I can do that. I'll be rather quick, actually. Fitness center, again, was very busy the days I visited. The pavilion area was clean, not being used at the time I visited. Playground all looked good and was being used at the time. Pickleball courts weren't being used at the time, but they looked great. Pool area closed for the season. And the park restrooms looked great. Areas for review, I have nothing. That's first for me. Member interactions, although I spoke with a few folks in the fitness room, and a few comments were regarding the need to expand that amenity. I assured them that I would bring it up again, and that's all I have for today.
All right, thank you very much for your help. Appreciate it. I am up next with Branchwood. I went on this past Saturday at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The walking trail was extremely busy, but it was beautiful Saturday afternoon. And the pool and the jacuzzi area were busy as I've ever seen it. It was all young families. There was one gentleman using the playground equipment to work out on, and I've seen that quite a few times, so just passing it along as info. It does appear that they're laying new mulch for the playground, and the area that was done looks really, really nice, so awesome. The area for review, the only thing I noted was the floor in the ladies' restroom was covered in water, and it didn't appear that anything was leaking. I've never seen that before, so I'm assuming it was related to the activity in the pool. I don't know if like one of those locker room mats helps. I really don't know that much about that type of thing, but just passing it on so that someone's aware. Member interactions, I did not have any. And then additional observations for those listening, there are plans to stripe the parking lot tomorrow morning and Friday morning. There will be a delayed opening tomorrow morning, and Friday morning classes are canceled. Okay. Moving on to Loch Lomond. I went there immediately following, so it was about 4:30. There were about a dozen cars there. Everybody was walking, and there was a group of girls that were just wrapping up softball practice. The area for review is, there is a piece of, it's cement at the pitcher's mound. I guess it's kind of like the line, so you know where to stand. There's a piece of metal breaking through the cement somebody might want to just look at and see if it's okay. And then a comment, the benches and the dugouts are really starting to show some high wear and tear, and a couple are to the point of splintering, so I thought I would bring that to your attention. The next report would be Kathleen, Blowing Springs.
Hello, everyone. The park looked great as usual. The grounds were manicured and clean, and the trails were clear. The bathrooms were clean and stocked, which is great to see. The RV park was full and started to see a lot of usage again. Areas for review, it looked like the limbs had been trimmed back along the drive-in, which is nice. They weren't hitting my car, which is great. Also, I noticed that one of the Oztrail bike racks was moved over by the bathrooms, by the Gear Garden, so thank you. I think that'll prevent, once the Gear Garden's open and people passing by, they won't be leaning their bikes up against the...
It's actually an additional one, Kathleen. Awesome. I brought in a third one.
Thanks, Joan. So thank you for relocating that, or adding a new one. And then member interactions, none. Most everybody was out on bikes, but I'm excited for the Gear Garden to open back up next month. So lots of good feedback always happens when it's open. That's all I got.
Kathleen, thank you. Brian, would you like to cover Tyree and Granton?
Yes, I will. So Tyree, trash was being emptied. Everything was stocked. Of course, we're still using an outhouse out there. The bathrooms are still locked down because of the season. Just a couple of vehicles out there with boat trailers. One thing that I noticed, just as an aside, is there was two vehicles, both had trailers. For some reason, one of them felt the need to park up completely into the grass. off of the parking lot. I don't know how big he thought his trailer was, but it wasn't that big, I'm sure. Just the thought of, I mentioned it before, maybe a barrier or signs of just not parking in the grass. It seems to be commonplace there at Tyree. I did talk to a father who was there with his 2 young sons. I guess they live just a couple of minutes away from Tyree, and they come there quite often to use the playground equipment. And they enjoyed the park, he said, frequently. Their whole family likes to come down. Moving on to Granton. Oh, one thing just to mention that the gentleman that I talked to brought up is all of the tree debris that is on the ground right now at Tyree, and Rick, I'm sure you're well aware because they're taking trees down and.
So when were you there?
I was there this last Saturday, so they had just done some work along where the restrooms are.
Yeah.
And then there's the tree that was out in front of the restrooms is still, I think, is kind of in a pile.
They've been in the progress of getting that.
And I explained that to him, that there was work in progress going on, and they were taking out some of the older trees and stuff. So
Okay.
he received that answer fairly well. And moving on to Granton. Granton is the perpetual. Nothing changes much at Granton. Everything always looks good. The trash is being emptied. There again, the outhouse is stocked. Mutt mitts are in place. Lots of people launching boats. That seems to be Granton's purpose in life, is launch and recovery of fishing boats and ski boats, etc. But everything looked good out there as well. No one that I could talk to out there. I did notice that the kayak that I had brought up last month that was not secured in any way to the rack is still in that condition, and also is, based on stickers, is 6 years out of registration. So I gave John a couple of pictures last month, Rick. I don't know if you got those or not.
If it's 6 years out, we probably don't have a way of identifying who it is. So the idea would be to leave a note on it for 30 days and then take it to our compound and wait for somebody to contact us.
Yeah.
So.
And Joan, I believe you were not here last month, but I did bring up as something that's worthy of speaking about going forward, is possibly putting some verbiage in our pamphlets, etc., on the website about physically securing boats on those racks, so if winds come up, doesn't cause damage or injury to anyone if one of those boats come flying off of those racks. If they're like, well, anything like mine, I have a kayak that weighs 32 pounds, so it's not very heavy. And that's all I have.
Brian, thank you very much. JP is on Zoom. JP, would you like to cover Lake Avalon?
Can you hear me?
JP, we cannot hear you if you're speaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Oh, sorry, I had the wrong microphone picked. Yeah, thanks. So the beach looks, I mean, it looks impeccable as always. I did meet a family from Dallas that was up here for spring break visiting their grandparents, and they were playing in the volleyball sand pit with some like beach toys. But they said they love the facility. They typically are here around 4th of July, and they love the festivities that happen there on the 4th of July. I noticed that the toilets are still locked, and so I'm not sure what we call those things. Is it an outhouse or porta potty or the mobile toilet? With the number of people coming out because of the weather, I don't know if that's the ideal thing. I watched a father who had a little girl there who needed to use the restroom, and he was like really contemplating whether he should get in there, and eventually he managed to get in there with his daughter and shut the door behind him. But I don't think it was a comfortable situation. I was wondering if there's any reason why we can't open the toilets before the beach opens again.
JP,
Other than that,
Go ahead and finish, and then I'll address that for you.
oh, thank you. I think I'm done. Talking about canoes on racks, the canoes at the end, they all look exactly the same. So I'm assuming they belong to the POA, right? because I also saw the stickers on there, and some of them were like from 2021. And if they're ours, I guess we should get our stickers renewed as well.
Are you talking about the ones down on that rack, kind of down
Yep.
by? No?
Yeah, down at the end.
Those are leased spaces and privately owned.
Okay, I'll take some photos next time and send them in with the stickers on them.
Thank you. All the POA kayaks and subs right now are locked up in our little storage building that's right kind of halfway between the beach and the dock.
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, ours are usually properly stickered unless they fall off in the water occasion mid
Okay.
season. And the
They all look exactly the same, so I assume they must be ours, but I guess not.
And then the bathrooms are unlocked now in March, and I'll double check. Maybe, do you happen to know what day you were down there?
Saturday.
Yeah, it should have been unlocked, so I will double check with the rangers to make sure that they're unlocking it. We do lock them up for the winter months, but we're past that now, so
Yeah, there's a sticker on the door that says the restrooms are locked because of bad weather, I think, or something. I put a photograph of it in my notes.
I will make sure that that's taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you.
JP, appreciate your help there. Thank you very much. Richard, moving on to you over at Kingsdale.
Yeah, I don't have I don't have a whole lot to report there either. I mean, I took a walk, I guess it was Saturday, around the playground and the mini golf, and it all looked in good shape. Of course, the pools are all still covered and there's no activity there. There was people playing on the basketball. They have a single basketball hoop kind of on the slope of the hill there. That seems to get a lot of use. I mean, several times I've been by there, and I've been kind of surprised that it's usually just one or two people shooting, but it seems like there's, pretty often there's people up there. I went through the rec center. I mean, it looks great. And I talked to the folks up front, and it seemed like everything was going well. Played tennis a couple times over at Kingswood, and everything looks pretty good there. They are accumulating a lot more old tennis rackets in the men's bathroom, and they've got them all over the walls. I don't know if you've been in there, but in the clubhouse, they have them all along, really everywhere on the walls. But they're accumulating a lot more, and I was going to ask Jake what his plans were with those, but I don't know. But he must be accumulating them for some reason, because there are a lot of them in there. But everything looked fine. I didn't really have any action needed items or anything.
It's still a little bit quiet time of the year, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, there's quite a bit of activity in the tennis course, at least on the weekends.
Okay.
And the rec centers, of course, got a lot of stuff going on. And,
All right,
people in
thank
playing
you.
pickleball and stuff. But
When is the park gonna open back up, the playground?
I'll address it in my report, but we don't know yet. We've had some vandalism and some other damage, and now it's a matter of parts. And so I'm trying to get an update, but we just discovered it last week. We had our contractor out there to assess, so we know what we need. But yeah, TBD on the timing.
Thanks, John.
Well, that's certainly too bad. Keith, would you like to take Lake Anne in London?
Sure. Starting with Lake Anne, the dam park was in great shape as always. The waterfall bridge and trail looking good. The covered fishing dock, fish cleaning area in good shape. I mentioned a board last month that was coming loose on the fishing dock. It seemed to be reattached. All trash cans were empty. I did find it interesting to see them spraying water on the road leading up to the dam park. I guess they do it just to keep the dust down. Perhaps the businesses on that road do it. But it was nice to see. The ramp area park had minimal leaves. Picnic and barbecue areas in great shape. The ramp fish cleaning station looked good. Portalettes both clean and well stocked. Areas for review in the dam park, no issues, but in the ramp park, still a couple kayaks and or canoes had missing or expired registration. There was quite a few mentioned last month, and it looked like half of them had been taken care of. Moving on to London Park. So little traffic there, and it's interesting to hear that the restrooms are not open in Lake Avalon, because I was surprised that restrooms are open at London Park that get so little area. Perhaps it gets more use in the winter when the ramp is open, but with the water level down, just so few people out there. But everything looked good there. All the boats were properly registered. Had a good interaction with a somewhat long-term resident of 11 years named Cheryl with her 2 dogs. Used the area quite often to exercise her dogs, asking for feedback. She would love to see an east side or closer to 71 dog park. She finds the Loch Lomond Park too far for her and the Bentonville Park too crowded. I actually suggested that she may try the area north of Allen's before it was recently sold, but she said she has used it, but still would like to see an additional dog park. And I suggested, I mean, if it is ever considered, that recreation area north of JJ's seemed like would be a good place for another dog park if we ever go down that road. And that's it for me.
Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Matt could not make it tonight, but I have his report. He said he visited the trap and skeet range on Saturday. The weather was colder than it had been, and there were 10 to 15 vehicles in the lot. A lot of them were actively using the range. He then goes into a lot of detail around the area, but everything is a compliment of how good shape everything is, so I will skip over that. He said the gate that is locked when the range is not open is in good working order. The range is well kept around the area, which makes the appearance when you drive up a very good one. He had no areas for review, but a member interaction. He spoke to a member. He said he uses the area a lot. He said that he does so now even more now that the gun range is temporarily closed. And that's all he had for us tonight. So Alan, would you like to bring us home with Tanyard Creek and...
You can go back and fill in all the good points that you skipped over. I'm okay with that.
I thought you guys wanted to go home.
No.
You ready for Tanyard Creek? Oh.
Yes, sir.
All right. I visited on Sunday, February 25th. The pavilion was rented and was very crowded. On the main parking lot, there was 35 cars. That's full. Then the pavilion, I assume that whoever rented it had driven down the paved lane that goes into Tanyard Creek, and there was 30 cars off in the grass everywhere. And then and the ranger was there, so they were checking it out. And then I went down to the overflow park, and there was 35 cars down there, which is now closed for renovation. So the place it was a day like this, the place was booming. And anyway, went back the next Tuesday, and everything was cleaned up, spick and span. So did a good job there. Areas for review there. Pigpen Trail renovation, which I won't go into that, but I'm looking at it. You know, I go out there 2 or 3 times a week, so I'm sure I'd like to talk to you sometime about that. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Member interactions. I visited with 7 different groups, all very complimentary of Tanyard Creek. Ran into this one couple from Denver, Colorado that was there with their dogs, and they had just finished the trip from the waterfall back, and you know, I could tell they wanted to talk. And I said, "What are y'all doing here?" And they said, "Well, we just flew in from Denver, and we called our realtor, said find us a house." So they're moving. So anyway, additional observations when you rent the pavilion, are you given a certain number of spaces to park, or how does that work over there?
No.
Okay,
It's-
okay, go ahead.
No, we can't control that. Every pavilion is tied to other amenities, so whether it be at Tanyard, the trails, at Kingsdale, the playground, at Metfield, the bike trails and whatnot. What we may have to look into is shutting that pavilion down, which I hate to do that because it's a beautiful pavilion, but we
Yeah.
might have to shut it down for a period of time while the Tanyard reservations are going on because
Perhaps they
parking.
can only rent it on cold days.
Cold rainy days.
Sunny.
Well, I know they were trying to park on the adjacent neighborhood, and people were coming out of their houses.
Yeah.
So anyway, I won't go into that, but, okay, moving on to Blowing Springs. Hold on just a second. Okay, Blowing Springs, visited several times during the month. Always clean, well attended. Janet and I did the hike from the Blowing Springs Trail through Mighty Pine, which I think is a new open trail, through Rabbit Hole and back around to the parking lot. We ran into several mountain bikers, which you should. Everybody was super courteous. I mean, before they got to you, they were yelling, you know, coming in. And Janet and I jumped off the trail, and they were just, there's two more coming behind us, you know. And I just felt really good and really safe. And okay, moving on up the paved trail towards Houston, there's a little pullover where I don't think it's a designated area, but people park. And between that and the paved, there was a water main where the cap was off. And not only that, there was a steel T-post sticking up right next to it. And it needs to be capped off. It needs somebody, I guess, had taken the plate that covers it because it was gone. But anyway, I don't know if that's a city or the POA. You know, I was looking up on Houston, and Tom, you said that there's a certain part of that paved trail that goes up to Metfield that belongs to the city. So I don't know if I'm on city stuff there or POA. I'm not real sure.
We'll look into it.
Okay.
Regardless, and whether it's ours or not, the city may not be aware of it, so we'll look
Okay,
into
thank you. And I've got if you need a picture, I'll take a picture of it. Let's see, additional observations. I really don't have any, so that's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your help this month, appreciate you. All right, that wraps up our amenity reports. Tom, do you have a gun range update for us this month?
Do you mind if I give you my report? I'll cover a couple things, then I'll just transition into the gun range. So just a reminder, tomorrow is the Meet the Candidates at 6 p.m. at Lake Point, or you can watch it live stream. Meet the Candidates, and the ballots go out April 8th. So that's coming right around the corner. So make sure you do some research, you're well informed, and you make a informed decision. On the March 19th at 3 p.m., we're going to have the first tour of Kingsdale, the restaurant down there. So you're all welcome to come down and see what we're doing there. It is a job site. But we've done these type of tours at all of our locations, and they're usually very well received. I fielded a couple of questions, and I thought I'd cover it now. People come to me and say, why don't we open up the Gear Garden now at this time of year? You know, the weekend was wonderful or something like that. Keep in mind, it's really, you can't do it. A couple different things is, the beer will go bad. You know, if you're open one weekend and then you're closed for 3 or 4 weekends, the beer will go bad. By state ABC law, you're not allowed to move that product from one location to another. So it's not like, okay, we have a great weekend, we open up, and whatever is left in the keg, we move it to another restaurant. You're not allowed to do that. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, you can't go to an employee and go, hey, I want you to work this weekend, and then don't work for 3 weekends, and then come back and work for a weekend, and then we'll see you in a month. You can't do that. It just doesn't work. So Sunday was a nice enough day that you could have gone out there, but you just can't do that. Tanyard Creek, we worked with the contractor. We've added some fencing, so we've reopened the Tanyard Creek overflow parking lot. There will be at least some time periods that we'll have to close it. because we have to do a lot of work to the parking lot itself. We're gonna, at the end of the day, we're also gonna slurry seal it and stripe it. So at some point, we'll have to re-close it, but for right now, it's open. And I worked with the Rangers over the weekend on that. And then the last one was the East Side Dog Park. We've been trying for a couple of years. We just can't find a good location. It's not like you can open up a dog park right next to someone's house. We'll probably get sued and we'll probably lose. So we're at Loch Lomond. It's just the perfect location, and there's really no other place. We've looked at it in the past and we just couldn't find an alternative location on the east side. We know there's a need. We just don't have a really good location that won't be a disruption, because we all know that dogs bark a lot when they're at the park. So, so let me give you a brief update on the gun range. We don't have a lot to cover. There's been a lot of behind the scenes work, so you don't really see it. You don't see any activity, but there's a lot of activity behind the scenes. So we've been working with CLS, which is our survey company, our civil engineers, Wallace Design, and our architects, Nielsen Architecture. So we're working with them behind the scenes to get geared up. We plan to bring to the board of directors a preliminary cost estimate this Thursday. I have not seen them yet, so I hope I get them. We've told them that we need them by this Thursday, so I hope to get an estimate fairly soon. Once the survey work is done, we'll move forward with Cooper to acquire the land. This is my drawing off of GIS, so it's not official in any way, but that's approximately the amount of land that we need on the outside. The highlighted area is the amount of land that we'll need, and Cooper has already agreed to sell it to us at a reasonable price, and so now we just need the survey, which will be official. We need exactly this much, where this is just me drawing lines on the computer. In addition to the improvements to the gun range, we're going to make some improvements to make the facility handicap accessible. As we've gone through the years and made improvements to all our different buildings, we've been upgrading and making sure that they're ADA compliant. So we will be doing it to that facility, because right now it is not ADA compliant. It previously was grandfathered in, but now with the level of renovations that we're making there, we need to get compliant. And it's a good thing to do, because a lot of our clientele needs that assistance. I included this picture from our last presentation, so in case someone missed the presentation, you'll see that we're going to be using this is actually on the rifle side, but we're going to use a baffle system, and so you can't see blue sky. There's a baffle up there. There's a roof that pitches down, and it really focuses your attention downrange. You'll also notice on the left and the right and the back, the berms, which we're currently estimating are going to be 16 feet tall. So you really can't see anything to make sure that no bullets stray out of the zone. Here is a picture from a gun range that we had a team visit a couple months ago, and you can see how it really focuses you downrange. They even have numbers, so you make sure, okay, you're shooting in lane 4, and that way you don't have people shooting across lanes and so forth. This one's got a lot of supports. I'm not a big fan of all these supports. We're going to try and not have quite as many in our location, because those end up getting hit. What's interesting is you can actually see on that first one, if you look at the word location and look down, you can actually see some damage from misfires, where they shot a little bit high and they chewed out some of the wood. And every once in a while, when they went and looked, you'd see ones way at the top. So clearly they were significant misses, and those are the types of misses that would exit our current range and potentially hit a home down range. So it does happen. So we've partnered with Ozark Sportsman in Springdale. In January, we had 106 members utilize their facility, and in February, 115. So it's getting used. It's a reasonable alternative. It's a heck of a drive, but it's the best alternative that we have at hand. And then this is a recycled slide also. How much and when will it reopen? Great questions. I can't answer either of those at this time, but we know that we need to move forward as quickly as possible, and we have been. But if I gave you any estimates on anything, people end up holding me to those, even though I keep on saying the word estimate. And then when those estimates don't prove to be correct, then they tend to get upset. So I would just as soon not say anything until we get really close. So, any questions? Kind of a brief update this time, but we're making progress. You just can't see it.
Tom, thank you for that. We appreciate it. Do you have a Trailblazers report, Joan?
No, the city did not pull the stats yet, so
Okay.
I will report next month.
Awesome, thank you. That concludes our current business. Under new business, this is an FYI for everyone and those listening. We will have 3 committee members whose terms expire in June. I've not spoken to all of them. I do know one does plan to exit the committee, so we know for sure there will be one opening. And then the other 2, as you probably know, have the option of running again. But we will be looking, so if you have friends that are interested in joining this committee, I can tell you it is a ton of fun, and you meet some great people, and you get out in our community, and it's a big help to the entire POA. So please consider it, and you send your applications into the POA secretary. There are no board member liaisons here tonight, so we will go to the staff reports. Rick, you want to go next?
Sure. We've been busy the last month or so. The Windsor drawdown is officially at its end, and we closed the valve on March 1st. We do maintain just a trickle of flow while the lake is rising to keep the creek habitat viable going downstream. So you will see a little bit of a trickle through there, but the lake is coming up pretty significantly. Our lake rangers made 2,303 contacts in the month of February, up from 674 in January, which is, I mean, spring has sprung. It might be a month early, but and then compared to 2023, 969. So we're way up, and a lot of those are conflict resolution down at Tanya Creek. But as Tom mentioned, we have at least some, to alleviate the problem going forward, we have some solutions there. Let's see, we will be beginning the roof replacements on 3 of our pavilions this month. We'll start at Tyree and then go on to the pavilion at London, and then finishing up at Lake Ann Park. So those are scheduled to get underway. We do have sealing and striping that we have tentatively scheduled for sometime in early April at Tanya Creek, and it'll be during the first part of the week. We're going to have to do something about parking then too. Hopefully we can coordinate with the construction and get the overflow taken care of. Let's see. Our 4th pond out at the Loch Lomond complex, we're ready to put the liner in, and we will very soon be filling it with fish to get that going. And that's the main thing I have this month.
Rick, thank you for that. Yeah, I saw that pond out there. It looks great. I think I see John on Zoom. If I'm correct, John, you have anything for us?
I do. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. So over at Trap and Skeet, we're making up for lost time for January. If you guys remember, we were down in attendance in January, but we were up 32% year over year for February. So certainly making up for lost time. Of course, we expect things to get a little busier now as tournament season is about to kick off at the end of this month. So it'll be busy from now until probably July, where we'll get a tiny break before the fall. And then also just back over to rifle and pistol, we were talking about background work. The entirety of our rifle pistol staff will be getting range officer training at the end of this month, and as well as support staff for rifle pistol. So everybody will be getting some range officer training at the end of this month, and that is all I have.
Thank you, John. Take care. And finally, Joan, would you like to wrap it up for us?
Sure will. A lot going on. I'll kind of run down the list. Mentioned with Kathleen bringing up the Kingsdale Playground. Unfortunately, we closed it late last week. We have been identified that some of it has been vandalism. We're not sure if even some of it could have been from ground movement, but there's a number of things that need to be addressed. So when we know more, we will communicate that. The good news is there's plenty of other activities around that park. Mentioned earlier with basketball, the mini golf continues to thrive. We have people out there. Really, there's only like about a month that it's not used, and tons of people are going over there. The other thing to note about the Kingsdale Playground, the swings are still available. And then for people that, are looking for a place to play, right down the hill is the Bluebird Park, where we have the tree house. We added another amenity there late February. So we added a big Oz chair. So it's in the grove under the trees. I'm going to be adding another big turtle that is a twin of a turtle that's over by the Bentonville Razorback. We're going to get that gifted to us, so we'll be moving that into place sometime in the next month. So there's lots of things and lots of people that are enjoying that park, so we encourage that as well. We have the Spring Bazaar and Kids Sign Up Day coming up in April. That's April 13th. The Spring Bazaar, we have a few spaces left, but a lot of vendors have already applied. That's the day also that we allow swimming lessons to be registered for. That's sort of a first come, first served thing, and that will all be at the BVRC. There'll be information about that in the rec e-letter that comes out this next Monday, week from today, and also in other general e-letters that come out from the POA. And then at the end of the month is the egg hunt on the 30th. That's the Saturday before Easter. And we have age groups 0 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, and 10 to 12. And that will be Saturday mornings starting around 10 a.m. with staggered starts for the kids. Information will be out about that in the e-letters as well. We do have a challenge with parking at Branchwood. The facility continues to be very busy. Pickleball is in full swing outside as well. Some of you may recall that it was only about 3 years ago that we added parking out there, and we could use more. So I was out there today with Nicole, who manages the facility, and a couple of people from MAC, and we've identified some temporary spaces that we will allow people to park on the grass over by the pickleball courts, and we are going to add some lines, just like what they did at the Gear Garden last year, over on the other side of Branchwood facility, because not only have the classes continued to grow, pickleball's in full use, the pool is in high demand. It's a great and busy facility. The park, today I was out there around 10, and there were a number of people just walking in the park. They weren't there to play pickleball, they weren't playing disc golf, they were just out walking in the park. So we will get that taken care of, and if we need to budget for next year to see what we can do on a more permanent basis. It was mentioned about mulch being added. Yes, we brought in tons of mulch. It's specific to playgrounds. It's for cushioning for the drop zones. We added it at the beach, at Branchwood, and at Metfield. We lose a number of cubic tons of mulch each year due to runoff and compaction, and we always bring in more, so we're in good shape for the season. Next, the beach will be adding sand. Kathleen mentioned that Blowing Springs is in very full swing with spring break, pretty much for the next 5 weeks, spring break from different areas of the country, so the park is very busy. The cabins were sold out last weekend and will be again this next week. So it's a good thing to see. Flea in the Park is coming up in October, and the applications are available online for those vendors. And a couple other things at Metfield. We now are renting Dogwood Room again. We had to close that off while we had classes over there, while BVRC was being renovated, but we are already taking a lot of rentals over at Dogwood, so that's an option, as well as rentals at BVRC. And the last thing I'll mention is we added 2 more red benches out at the Snowbird Trail. That's the one off of Reelington or off of Benton County 40, off of Benton County 40 down from Walgreens, and so now there's 2 nice benches there, so that park is really looking good. And those benches were donated to us from the Bella Vista Foundation. So that's it for me.
Joan, thank you. Yeah, Branchwood is like the perfect walk, right? It's like not too long, not too short, got a little bit of an incline, so you make sure you're getting some exercise there, and it's just beautiful out there. I mean, it's every time of the year. When do you think you would like for us to add Bluebird or start considering reviewing Bluebird? Have you given that any thought yet?
I wouldn't do it until the fall. There's a couple of things in play. We possibly will be adding a secondary treehouse. We are getting bids back from contractors now, but the Trailblazers have identified some funds so that will be built, and so at that point there'll be construction going on. Like I said, we're going to add a few things. So again, at this point, I'd rather wait until the park is more complete before we start reporting on it, because it'd be really easy to say, well, that's wrong. Well, it's somewhat because it's under construction. I keep a really good eye on that park. I'm down there several times a week, so but certainly if people see anything and they have questions or concerns, they can bring it forth to us and we'll take care of it.
Sounds good. Any additional comments, concerns, questions? Yes, sir.
I do have, I guess, one question for Mr. Tom. Regarding the Gear Garden, are you hiring bands out there at this point? Has anyone looked into, there's a couple of companies that handle royalties for cover bands and such. I might be getting too much in the weeds, but
Yeah, like CSAC and so forth.
yes.
Yeah, we already pay our fees.
Okay.
There's another one, but the same thing, yes.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking the industry standard is that basically venues handle usually that. They contract with these companies to
Yeah,
pay the artist royalties for cover bands, I was just thinking, well, I don't know if they would know to do that.
Yeah,
But, okay.
I know the term CSAC, so.
Well, yeah, no, that's just what I was wondering.
But there's another one, I think there's one or two other ones,
Yeah,
three total, so,
yeah.
yeah, we pay.
I just didn't know whether you guys considered that, but good enough, thanks.
Something for Tom as well. There was an announcement this week in the news about the Walton's real estate arm purchasing Sugar Creek Center, and it appeared to be some property close to it, north of it. And I was curious if that property is part of the old Burksdale Golf Course, or is that POA property? And
He'll pull it up on GIS.
This is the easiest way to describe it, because there's one area that's a little tricky that people don't understand. Just give me a second. So this is a county website. If you've never used this, this is BaseMap, and it's a free service, and it's just a really easy way to identify things. And you can identify the owners and so forth. I didn't have it on, unfortunately. So, okay. So here is it's called Sugar Creek Shopping Center, but let's just call it Allen's. That's what everybody else does. So this area. So I click on here. You can see Sugar Creek Center LLC. So that's the new title. Typically, when properties change hands, it takes about a month to update. So you'll notice, so here's one parcel, and then here's another parcel that's still under Cooper's name. Check back a month from now, it'll be updated. This is part of the deal. So a lot of people will make the assumption that here is the edge of the parking lot, so the POA owns everything north of the parking lot. That's not the case. They own this little section right here. You can see the cart path is right here. So where the cart path starts is where POA property starts. So they've purchased.
Click on that again, Tom. That's not ours.
That is not ours. This is ours, BVPOA.
Pull that down so they can see what is ours.
And so this is all of Burksdale South. So you can see that we got new neighbors. It's also the land to the east. You see this says Cooper. It's actually part of the deal. That says Cooper. This is the vet, and then this is part of it. That indicates Cooper also. So so that actually gets all the way to our doorstep of Blowing Springs. So that.
Lake Bella Vista Park, or is it Blowing Springs?
Well, Lake Bella Vista is over down here.
Yeah, I guess I was talking about that parking, but I hear what you're going.
Yeah, so that's what they've purchased, and this also, I guess, is part of it.
Gas station?
Is the gas station. That's what the article indicated. This was for whatever reason, it's a separate lease. So it sounds, we don't know what their plans are, and I don't even know if they know what their plans are yet. It really doesn't impact the POA. It's a new neighbor. And then the other question I've been fielding is, well, is the POA going to sell Burksdale South? That would be near impossible to do that. It's being heavily used, and if you recall, the extension of the Greenway will be going on that section. So. Yeah, most of this is in floodplain, so you can click on here under FEMA and go under. So this is a great resource, and there you go. That's floodplain. So I use this daily, so that's why I know where to click all the time. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Tom, thank you for that. It was very helpful. All right, so we are going to wrap it up. Our next meeting is Monday, April the 8th, here in the boardroom at 4:00 p.m. and live stream. Thank you all for your help. See you next month.